professional organizations to include MOAPA, AAPA, and the Veterans Caucus of AAPA, and also VPAA. Her research interests are advancing physician assistants in leadership and management opportunities, as well as physician assistants in the uniformed services and veterans. And of course, we thank Dr. Blakemore for her service to our country. So without further ado, feel free to hit your reaction button if you know where that is, and you can thumbs up or clap, but welcome Dr. Megan Blakemore.
Hi, and thank you very much. Hello, everyone. There's a lot of A's in there, but there's a couple of people I want to introduce that are on here also. You'll see Mrs. Emily Huckla in here also. She is the Director of Clinical Education for the program. And you won't see Mrs. Leslie Norris, but she is on here, and she's the Director of our Didactic Education. So they're on here also. They might be able to answer some very specific questions tonight if they're willing. So thank you guys for being here. I think what we'll do is start with a small presentation about the program. And I believe, is there anybody not from Columbia? But you went to school here, Mariah, right? Okay. So what I think I can do is probably leave out most of the Columbia facts. And then if someone can make me the host, I can share my screen.
Shannon is working on that right now.
Okay.
Megan, I think you should have access to share your screen.
I do. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay. All right. So again, most of you know about Stephens College because you went here. I know a couple of you didn't. We can talk about Columbia a little bit more if you guys would like to talk about that some. But this really begins the slide about the program. So it is a 27-month program. These are our current didactic students. We take a cohort of 30 every year. We have somewhere between 500 and 600 applications, probably 200 or so are verified, and then we interview over 100 students. So it's about 3 students per seat. And then we'll take 30 students at least for the next 5 years. So again, 27-month program. 13 months of that is in-seat didactic work, and then the rest of the time is clinical rotations, and those are called supervised clinical practice experiences, and we set you up with those within the program. So we've had 2 classes graduate in 2018 and 2019. Both cohorts have had 100% first-time board pass rate, which is wonderful, and we're very proud of them for that. So that's great for the program. Community engagement, we do try to get the students involved as much as possible in the community. This is our current clinical year students, and we went on the VA 2K run last year, which was a lot of fun. We were able to help support the veterans in that way. And we also did another run this year with the didactic students down at Stephens Lake, and we plan to do more things, more community involvement. And oftentimes the students can suggest things that we're able to do too, so that makes it kind of a group activity. Professional organizations. In our program, we do allow students to go to the professional organizations where they can spend a couple of days. This is the AAPA conference that was done in Denver, Colorado, and the students were able to attend this, and they have a good time, learn a lot. There was a lot of ultrasound information put on at this one, and they really enjoyed going. This is Chelsea and Shelby here, and Lindsay and Alicia and Lizzie here, and as you can see, I think they liked posing in front of the AAPA sign, but I do think they enjoy going to these. You can also go to MOAPA, which is the state chapter for the Missouri Association of Physician Assistants. As for the curriculum and the didactic year, again, like 13 months, 3 semesters. The fall semester is by far the heaviest. You have 20-some hours here in the fall, and it's intense. It's a master's program that you're not used to. It's unlike any other. You are here from 8 to 5 every day. Some Saturdays, we had class last Saturday, and we had class last week from 5 to 8 one evening because we have physicians that teach and guest lecturers that come in. So sometimes we have some off time schedule, but for the most part, it's 8 to 5 every day. And you can see in the first semester here, we have human anatomy, which is 6 credit hours, physiology, molecular foundations. Clinical medicine is the bulk of where you learn about medical education. We have 3 semesters of pharmacology, which is unusual for a PA program, but we felt that students needed this, and I think that they appreciate the extra 2 semesters here of pharmacology. We start with clinical skills, which starts with your history and physical, learning how to talk with patients, effective communication, things of that nature. And then case-based medicine, where we present different cases and the students learn through a semi-flipped classroom. In the spring semester, there's not as many credit hours. It seems like less, but really it's not. Here's where clinical medicine really bulks up. It's about 9 credit hours. And then in the summer, we have about 15 weeks, and it is less at this time, but I think students feel so because they've kind of got the hang of going through the program at this time, right before we change and switch over to the clinical education. And we'll go through each class here one by one. So human anatomy, this class is a lot of fun. It's human anatomy and radiology. We have an anatomist that's coming this year, and he will actually, Dr. Kevin Flattery, will actually teach anatomy. I used to teach this class, but it's a lot of fun. We have 7 cadavers upstairs, which not all programs have, and you get a real sense of what it's like to make an incision, to use surgical instruments to scrub in and out of the room, to be able to dissect the cadaver first, get a real sense of cadaver dissection. We learn about radiology, how to read a chest x-ray. This right here is a pig heart, and who knew you could buy these at Mosier's, but you can. So we went out and bought a bunch of these, and we practiced suturing. So this is the very first class we had, the cohort of 2018, practicing on a pig heart. We have clinical medicine 1, 2, and 3, and as I said, this is the bulk of clinical education where you learn about medicine. Mrs. Norris and Dr. Sapp teach this class for us. We do have lots of guest lecturers. We have all taught in this class, but there are 2 main course instructors. This is the class featured here. This is the class that just graduated in 2019, in December of 2019. And like I said, you learn everything from pathophysiology here to treatment to imaging and prognosis of the patient's condition. As for medical pharmacology, Dr. Singh teaches this course. We have 3 of these layered throughout the program, and you learn about different prescriptions, how to write a prescription, black box warnings, how to prescribe, things of that nature, what you use different medications for. Very interesting, and like I said, 3 semesters of this. For clinical skills 1, 2, and 3, the first semester is generally the history and physical, as I said earlier. The second semester is mostly procedures, and students really seem to like this. This is where we start to suture, and here you can see Daniel is intubating. He was in the class that just graduated. So we teach a lot of these skills. Miles and Josh and Tyler are actually suturing on chicken. So half-frozen chicken legs also make good suture material for us. Sometimes bananas do too, but we've actually had a couple of students allergic to bananas, so we can't use those. But you'll learn everything from lumbar punctures to art lines to central lines to chest tubes to thoracentesis, to IVs, NGs, OGs, intubation. There's a whole list of skills that you learn in these classes. And then clinical skills 3, we talk about pediatric patients, everything from neonates up to the adolescent, which can be a lot of fun. And this is also the class where we go over to the University of Missouri Sim Center, and we do the male and female genital examinations. And our course is lucky that we actually have a partnership with them where you get to practice on a real simulated live patient that is able to give feedback. So most students highly enjoy this, this practice and this opportunity before they go out on a required OBGYN rotation. Case-based medicine, this is 3 courses throughout the program, and it's a stepwise process. In the first case-based medicine, we teach you how to go through a case in a particular manner, and then in the second and third cases or courses, we go ahead and give you a case and act as the patient, and then you are to come up with the diagnosis and the treatment for that patient. And then in the third semester, we're able to go over and attend grand rounds over at the University of Missouri. And Dr. Nachby is our medical director over there, and he's in charge of internal medicine. And we are able to visit his grand rounds where he not only has working PAs, but he has PAs and fellowships. We have students over there on rotation, and then we take the didactic year students over to these grand rounds too. So it's a good mix of students. Professional Practice 1 and 2, this is a class that I teach. Here we learn about a variety of things, everything from writing your resume to applying for a job to a cover letter. We learn about salary negotiation. We also learn about professionalism, professional organizations, intellectual honesty. We cover a range of ethical problems here, diversity issues. We talk about domestic violence, and we also talk about palliative care and go through a whole module on palliative care. And this is more of a light class, but it's pertinent information to your actual practice. We don't have per se as many exams in these types of courses, but it's just information that you'll need in order to be successful once you graduate from PA school. Evidence-based medicine 1 and 2, Dr. Sapp teaches this course here, and here she teaches you how to review literature. And this is the class that you'll write your capstone in, and you'll also present your capstone. And we were lucky enough to have a research virtual fair not too long ago, where our current clinical year students were able to give a presentation on their capstone during that research presentation that went out to a variety of places. So that was really awesome. And this is Carly, and this is Carly's poster that she made from her capstone project, and she is actually presenting this at MOAPA, which is that Missouri chapter for physician assistants. The Sheldon Clinical Simulation Center, this is a picture of where we go over to do the male and female exams. We also take a small course over there. There's a nurse practitioner that helps us, and she teaches about delivering infants and childbirth, and they have a really neat model over there that does a simulated birth. It's really it's awesome. It just really is, and she does a great job of teaching that. So there's a variety of mannequins that we get to use over there, and the students really like this. It's a lot of fun. Marty and them do a good job of teaching the necessary skills. As for the clinical year, a lot of people have questions about this. So our program does allow students to suggest clinical preceptors. We've had students that would like to do all of their rotations in a particular state. So if you're coming out of Texas and you'd like to go back and do your rotations there, as long as we can vet those clinical rotations, students can go. Not all programs do allow that, but we do within reason if we're able to vet the site. We do have 8 6-week clinical rotations that we require, which almost all PA programs across the United States require. Most of these except for maybe psych or behavioral health. But they include family practice, internal medicine, pediatrics, women's health, behavioral medicine, general surgery, emergency medicine, and then we offer an elective. And your elective can be, it's your choice. It can be in whatever specialty you would like to, you think that you would like to go into. Most students will pick up a job offer during these clinical electives. They really enjoy this. Introduction to clinical phase. This is a class that happens at the end of the 3 semesters. This is before you go out into clinical rotations. Here we learn about emergency medicine, and you'll do your ACLS, PALS, BLS, and we work with the Boone County Fire Department here. So this is a simulated exercise right outside Sampson Hall, where they brought an ambulance, and then they brought the patient in, and we simulated a handoff, and then we took them to an ICU, and then we ran a code. Students really seem to enjoy this, and this is Nathan from our first class here, and he's practicing on our simulated patient here. We also do what's called a leadership rotation, which is quite unique to the program. This is one of my favorite things. It's a 4-week class, and here we introduce a variety of topics for leadership, for physician assistants, and this is one of the newest things that's coming up. There's quite a debate on whether PAs need a PhD and what kind of leadership roles that they can do, because the profession is relatively young. PA profession is only about 50 years old. So there's a lot of room here for improvement, and we do certain things called lean, and we do PDA cycle and some other things like that. And you'll learn all about that if you're not sure what that is. And it's very big things in hospital leadership. I've been through a couple of those courses over at the VA hospital. So that's an evolving class there, but it's definitely geared toward leadership, and it's to encourage PA students to move into a leadership role once they enter the workforce. And here's a list of our faculty and staff. So Dr. Hassan Naqvi is the medical director, and this is me. Leslie Norris, who is the director of didactic education. Emily Huckla, the Director of Clinical Education, Dr. Merrill Sapp, who is the Director of Research. Dr. Singh is the Assistant Professor. We have Angela Rehagen, who's our Assistant Clinical Coordinator, and Stephanie White, who's our Administrative Assistant. And I tell you, that's a short rundown of the program, but I'm gonna stop sharing for right now and open it up to any questions. And Mariah, you asked, can you do rotations on a military base? Yes, absolutely. If we can get you, there you are down there. If we can get you a preceptor on there, sure. And actually, so there's a couple of different things that you can do. So if you're really interested in military medicine, are you interested in joining?
Yeah, I am actually, the Air Force.
The Air Force, as a PA.
Mm-hmm.
Before or after school, okay? So yes, okay. So they actually have active scholarship programs that you can pursue, and they will give you a stipend while you're in PA school. And I just met a couple of those guys they are out of St. Louis, and they're gonna come in July and actually give a talk for us. So if you'll email me, you can set in on that to see what it's like. But they'll give you a scholarship and a stipend. You'll owe them some time afterwards, but you're planning on going anyway.
Yeah.
And you'll go in as an officer, but yes. So
yeah, my
definitely.
husband's in the Air Force, and so that's what I was doing.
Okay, yeah,
Great.
absolutely.
Mariah, we also offer a lot of clinical rotation sites that are at VA hospitals throughout the country. So they hire both veterans and civilians. So you kind of get a taste of both, and it's a great networking opportunity to do the clinical rotations at a VA.
That's awesome. Thank you.
And you can get a scholarship from the VA too. They'll pay you a stipend and you can owe them some time. Five years, Jenny. So Jenny asked, what is the timeline for having the capacity to increase enrollment? And it's 5 years. 5 years from our next site visit, which is October, not probably, it is. What else can I answer for you guys? Allegra, I know you have questions.
I was also going to ask, can you hear me all right?
Mm-hmm.
I was also going to ask about doing rotations on military bases. So could I be just a civilian and still do that and do the scholarship too, or is it just for someone planning to like be in?
So the scholarship portion of that, you would owe them, you would sign with them, they would give you a stipend, but then you would owe them time. That's kind of how the military works. You owe them a little time after that. But you can always be a civilian and work in a military hospital. When I was I worked at Madigan up in Tacoma, Washington. We had all kinds of civilians. So you can be a doctor, a PA, a nurse in a military hospital, along with actually being in the armed services.
Oh, okay. And I have more questions about I saw on there the PACAT entrance exam. Can you explain that a little more?
Sure. So the PCAT is a new exam, and it's tailored towards students who want to be PAs. It's more specific than the GRE, which is just a general test. So right now we're recommending the PCAT, and there's a lot of programs that are, and we're going to see the data behind that and kind of what it looks like in relation to how well students do within the program. So that's why we're recommending this. At some point it could become required, but we're not quite sure about that. And I'm not sure where the PCAT is at this time. Like, I know that there's some hold on the GRE, which is why we've waived it for the next cycle. And then the PCAT is just recommended. I'm not sure if they're still testing or if they're allowing it testing at home. I'd have to really look out there on their website.
Okay.
What is life like in Columbia? Well, actually, the people your age on here probably could answer that question better than I could. But I will tell you that, so Columbia is kind of unique, right? Columbia sits right smack in the middle of St. Louis and Kansas City. And we have the University of Missouri here, Stephens College, Columbia College, Central Methodist University, CMU has a campus here. Moberly Area Community College has a campus here, which is about 40 miles north of here. Gosh, there's about 6 or 7 colleges here. So it is a really fun place at times. And we are located about a block from downtown. So the students love to walk downtown and eat lunch every day. And it is quite an exciting place. There's a lot of things to do. It is different in the fact too, though, that even in our program, you get a little bit of rural medicine, because where I'm from, just 20 minutes north of here is Sturgeon, and there's only 936 people in that town. And we have a Casey's and no stoplight. And then you come to Columbia, where I don't know how many thousand, is it 120,000, 150,000 people here about now? So it's a really good mix of a variety of people, but it's a lot like a college town. I don't know. What do you guys think? Mariah, what do you think? You lived here for a while.
It's definitely fun. It's everything you said at Wets, right? But it's more than just a college town at times. For example, like if the bar scene is not your scene, there's so many fun things to do within that town. Like they have a great bowling place, which is where I hung out. And they have like super fun, this like little cinema place, and really it's kind of something for everybody. There's lots of like niche cultures within Columbia, so it's like it's a good place. I think I loved it.
Yeah, I like Columbia too. I haven't had any problems here whatsoever. So I do like living here. What would you say are some of the most valued characteristics in an applicant? Leadership, community, research, etc. Really some of the most valued characteristics that we're looking for are perseverance, grit, the ability to take constructive feedback, which goes into your level of maturity. Some of that moves into your life experience, how much life experience you've had. It really is your ability to be flexible, adaptable, to be mature and professional, and to kind of pick yourself up and keep going. Most students that enter this program have a high GPA in undergraduate. PA programs are very competitive to get into. They're used to getting A's all the time, and then you hit a program like this and that doesn't happen. And that can be a shock to some people. But the ability to keep going and to adapt and restructure the way you study, because you will, and restructure your life because you won't have one for a while, 27 months to be exact. If you can do that, then if you can adapt to that, then you'll do well in PA school. But those are the characteristics that we're looking for. So grit, perseverance, maturity, adaptability. That's what we're looking for. And then, yes, you did hear correct. The GRE is waived for this cycle. Yes. And then, let's see. The population is 120,612. All right, I was close. Patient care experience. Thank you, Mrs. Norris. Patient care experience is another one. And when you talk about patient care experience, you can work in a variety of fields, but the more hands-on patient care experience that you have, and the more directed patient care experience where you have some autonomy and are able to make some decisions about that patient, is the best patient care that you can have. And oftentimes what I'll tell students is, some of you are really young and you'll start really early. Like if you start as an ER tech at 18, by the time you're 20, you might have a couple thousand hours worth of experience. But when you turn 20, if you are still in college and you get yourself another job and you're a scribe for say, now you've kind of diversified your experience and you have a little broader experience, I guess, with healthcare, and that generally helps. So, but the more hands-on, the more patient care directed, and the more autonomy you have, is the best patient care experience that you can do. Yes, and Mrs. Huckle is right. We have posted the new cycle updates on the website. So the GRE has been waived, and we are accepting for the spring semester of 2020 and the summer semester of 2020. We are accepting pass, fail, credit, no credit grades. Although I do highly suggest that you take a grade if you can, because I don't believe that those other options factor into your GPA, and CASPA, which is the application system, will not factor that into your GPA. And of course, the GPA makes a difference in this type of application system. What does the application process look like? So CASPA is a national application center, and there's a link to them on our website too. You go through, and almost every program within the United States uses CASPA. There still are a few that don't, but you can go on there and you fill out the application, and you'll see the entrance requirements for each program. And if they have essay requirements, things of that nature, or other special questions, you'll fill those out. You apply to that. You just click a box and you apply to that program, and then you pay their application fee. And then the application comes into us and then goes through a different process from there on how the admissions committee reviews each applicant. And we do review each verified applicant. What else can I answer? Do you require PA shadowing? We do. And I believe we require 16 hours of that. So it's 2 8-hour days. And I think actually, Allegra, you shadowed with me, right? I swear I thought so. Okay.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
You mentioned being a simulated patient in one of the photos. Can you speak a little? So we do. So we have simulated patients that come over, and I don't know if anybody on here has been a simulated patient, but there's a pre-PA program over at the University of Missouri, and we have asked them to be simulated patients. Even my dad has been a simulated patient, and so has my daughter. So we have people come in and we give them a script, and they sit down and with one of the instructors and a student in there, and they ask the student will come in and introduce themselves and wash their hands. It's just like you're in a clinic room. It's set up just like a clinic room, like my dad would be in there and he would set up on the table, or one of the students from ME would set up on the table, and they would read off of the script and allow the student to ask questions. And really what that does is, it's really nice. It's called an OSCE, is what OSCE is called, an OSCE. And what's really nice is you get to take everything that you've learned and actually put it into practice. And it makes you very nervous, but it's really good practice. And we do about 2 of these in the first semester, and then we do 6 of them in the second, and then about 2 or 3 more in the third semester. And it's just good practice before you get out there and get into a clinic room alone by yourself with a real patient, when it's a little more high stakes. When you could do these simulated patients, it's just another student or a family member, and you're still nervous, but the stakes are quite a bit lower, and you have one of us sitting in there with you. And we do things like colds and headaches and chest pain, and you get to do a physical exam on this person too. And it's nothing, we don't do any exams that are real personal or have if people are dressed appropriately and things of that nature. We don't do anything like that. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I do think the students enjoy it, and we do some cases in there where it really makes you think, and some of the things we do, you won't ever forget once you get out there and practice. So they're right when they say once you see it, you won't forget it. Will you accept virtual PA shadowing hours? Well, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that. And I would definitely put that in there, but I will have to take that back to the admissions committee. That's a good question, especially if you're shadowing someone that's you're talking about telemedicine, is that right? Or telehealth? Yeah. So I would say yes on that. How many rounds of interviews are there? 1. Well, there is 1 round of interviews. We do 4 days of interviews, but you only come in, everybody comes in once and interviews, and then it goes to the next step. It's not like we interviewed you and then ask you to come back. So just 1 interview. Everybody that we're going to interview interviews once, and then as I hold up 2 fingers, once, and then it goes back to the admissions committee. What else can I answer for you?
On the interview question, is it by like a board of people, or is it by just one person?
It's a board.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a board interview. You are the only candidate, but it's a board interview. We're getting up on you just a little bit. Oh, yeah, that's right. Congratulations.
Are finals over at Stephens?
I'm not sure for undergraduate, not for us.
Oh.
This is the final week of classes, and then finals week is next week.
Same.
Would the committee view an applicant who has taken all of the listed recommended courses? Is it Kendra? Am I close to saying your name correctly?
It's Kenidra, yes.
And can you be a little more specific on that?
So I have completed all of the required courses, but you listed on your website some courses such as biochem, pharmacology, pathophysiology. There was listed as like recommended courses. So how would that weigh on my application, the fact that I've taken those courses in addition to the required courses?
It's good for your education. It doesn't give, we don't give a preference for taking extra courses, but it will help you, if you're accepted to the program, it will help you get through the program with more ease. But they are just recommended. That's what it means. And we recommend them because once you get accepted, it really is like drinking from a fire hose. I mean, it is quick. We throw a lot of information at you at one time, and any of those extra courses that you could take will definitely help prepare you for the program.
Well, this is Leslie. Can you hear me, Megan?
Yes.
This is Miss Norris. Kenedra, am I saying that right, Kenedra?
Yes, that's correct.
I'll mimic what Dr. Blakemore said. It doesn't it's not like a point system where, you know, you've got all your recommendations or your required courses, and then for every extra course that we recommended, you get an extra point. It's nothing like that, but it does, let's say, you know, when you've got two people that are pretty much neck and neck, you can only invite one. They both have excellent grades. They both have all the required. You've got someone that's taken all these other courses and you have someone who has not. We're going to lean toward the person who's taken all the courses. Does that make sense? So that's why they're recommended. It's going to give you favor if it comes down to it, but there's no, you need these because it's going to give you an extra point. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much.
So it's definitely in your favor, both because it prepares you, but that's why it's in your favor. I mean, we know that you're not afraid of a challenge. You have the option to take those harder classes, and you chose to take those harder classes instead of taking, you know, a badminton class to fulfill a elective. So, you know, we want the student that's not afraid of the challenge, and we want to know that you can do it. And so it's going to work out in your favor if you choose to take those classes. So.
What else? So the question is, can you talk about the PANTS test? So the PANTS is a national certification. So anybody that wants to be a physician assistant, you must, in the United States, you must attend an accredited program, and you must graduate from that program in order to sit for the PANTS, which is the initial certification, national initial certification test for physician assistant students to pass. Once you pass this exam, you go from a PA-S for student to a PA-C for certified. And you must have this in order to be employed as a physician assistant in any facility within the United States. So the PANTS is, you can look this up on the NCCPA website. The PANTS is a all-encompassing test. It takes, I think, about 3 hours to take this at a national testing center, and has about 300 questions on it. And it covers a wide variety of medical questions, and you can look up the percentages and the blueprint of this test. Like I said, if you go out to the the NCCPA, and I'll just type that website in for the PANS. And they also do what's called the PANRE. Once you become a PA, you have to recertify every 10 years. And that PANRE is the recertification test. And yes, the PCAT is optional. That's right. It's recommended only at this point. And the type of patient care experiences or patient care hours is it most competitive if it's hands-on. If it's hands-on, if you have some autonomy, and if you have some decision making over that patient. Those are the most competitive. For example, so you could be a pharmacy technician, you could be a phlebotomist, or you could be a CNA, or you could be a scribe. Your pharmacy technician is skilled and they're knowledgeable along with your phlebotomist, but your CNA and your scribe have more direct hands-on experience, and your CNA has a little bit more decision-making capabilities over that patient, like an ER tech or an EMT or a paramedic. We have registered nurses that come in, PT, OT, radiology techs, nuke med techs, RTs, respiratory therapists, ATs, athletic trainers. So quite a few different specialties also apply to the program. So the more hands-on you have, the better. Go ahead, Mariah.
Sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand virtually. One of my questions is, if we were to retake the GRE, do we have to send you both scores? So like I took the GRE in undergrad, and if I were to retake it again, would I have to send you both of my scores or just the latest score?
Sally?
Yes, so I'd say, honestly, I don't know what the CASPA requires, but if you know one of your scores is higher than the other, I would just send that one in.
Okay.
We will accept both, and we'll just go with whichever one's higher. But if you only want to send in one, obviously just send in the one that's a higher score, and that'll go through CASPA and everything, like Dr. Blakemore spoke about earlier.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Jenny,
I could be wrong on this, but I feel like we get all of them regardless. Because in the applications that we've had in the past, we've had multiple GRE scores, and some of them weren't, like, within the last 6 months. Some of them were old. So
Oh, wow.
I don't know that for sure, but I say that because that way we can see, and this also goes for whoever asked the question, that way we can see you might have had a better score in one, like in analytics versus writing on one time, and then your writing was better this time, your analytics was last time, and then that way we can see that, because what we like to do is take your best score. Like maybe you don't do the best in undergrad in writing, but you did great in analytics, and this time you did great in analytics but not so good in the writing, and then we can take the best of those scores. Does that make sense?
That would be awesome.
So I feel like we've seen all of them, and I don't know if that's because they've submitted them on their own or if that's just the way it's done.
I think you're better at it than I am, Leslie.
And that's what I do when I review them. I pull out the best scores. I just don't know if it's done automatically or if the students have chosen to submit them all. But we often get multiple scores. So.
Thank you.
All right.
We have a hand raised from Kanadi Fuller.
Hi, it's Kennedy, and I had a question about the timing of finishing prerequisites in your undergraduate. So right now I'm going into my senior year of my bachelor's degree, and when I apply, I'm hoping to apply with this next cycle. However, at the end of the application cycle, I think it ends the 1st of October or something. At that time, I will have 3 classes in the fall, and then I will have 2 more of the prerequisites that I need to finish in spring of 2021. So would that disqualify me from applying, or would I still be able to apply?
I think you're still able to apply. I think what we have is, I think you can have no more than 3 prerequisites due. I'm actually gonna go back out here and just look it up for a minute, because I think you can have no more than 3 in the
Okay.
summer left. But let's just look it up for just a second. I want to make sure I give you the right information. And all I'm doing is Kennedy is going out to the website.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, it says applicants may apply with no more than 3 outstanding prerequisite courses pending as of December 31st of the year of matriculation. So you said you would have 2 left, is that right?
Yeah, I would technically be in 3 classes in spring of 2021. However, only 2 of them are listed as required prerequisites for your guys' program.
Okay. And I'll be real honest with you. You may want to email that to me.
Okay. What is your email, by the way?
It is on that chat.
Okay, I'll look it up then.
I'll put it back on there too, but why don't you email me that question so
Okay.
I'll make sure that I understand and give you the right answer.
Okay, that'd be great. And I just had one more quick question. As far as when you submit your CASPA application, does that kind of influence your chances? Or like if you apply early, are you more likely to get an interview, or does it not really matter?
So we don't have early. We did at one point, but we don't now.
Okay.
So what behooves you is usually, you can think about this strategically though, you might want to apply depending on your patient care hours, how many you have. So, if you have 1,500 in April, but early October, you might have, 2,000.
Yeah, that's true.
Then you might want to think about that.
Yeah.
That's kind of a way. You can always update your CASPA application, and you can always send admissions an email that there's been an update, but you can do it that way.
Okay.
Now, did you have another question?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Jenny, you asked, would you recommend a newly graduated nursing student to work in the field before applying to PA school? I would, depending on what your background is before that. What did you do before nursing school?
I actually work in the advancement office, and that was a personal question.
Well, I'll answer.
Yeah. So my son is graduating from an accelerated nursing program and is thinking about PA school, and I was just asking that for personal reasons. So.
If he went from straight from high school into nursing,
yeah.
I would go work for a year, because my question would be, we only take so many hours from training,
right,
here. So if he were to go, which he'll have no problem getting a nursing job, and get some experience under his belt for about a year, and if he goes and works in an ICU or something like that, well, then he'd be more than competitive.
Right.
In that, and he'd be well set. I mean, did he get an RN?
So he got his undergrad in nutritional science at Mizzou, and he's in an accelerated program at UMKC right now, but he graduates in May. So.
And he'll be a registered nurse?
Yes, BSN.
Yeah, that would be great. You would always have 2 jobs.
Yeah, okay. I was just curious. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No,
I just asked for personal reasons.
You're not the only person that has asked me that. A lot of students can't decide if they want to go be an RN or if they want to be a PA, but really, why choose?
Right.
Go be an RN, work for a year or 2, get a lot of experience, and then come be a PA and make the decision about the patient. So that makes you even more competitive, and that way you've worked both sides. So
right. Thank you.
Sure. Are quarter credit hours accepted for prerequisite? Yes, if that's what your school has, and CASPA works that out for you. So yeah, that quarter hours are fine. Is there a supplemental app or associated fee for applying? There is, and it's $50, I believe. Email address. Is there a rolling or non-rolling admission? It's rolling admissions, right?
Yes, so that's what I wanted to go back and talk to. What I think it was, I don't know if it was Kanadra or Kennedy who asked the question about should I apply early or should I wait? We do have rolling admissions, so you don't have preference. If you're an excellent candidate, it's not going to matter if you're early or late as far as when you get your application in. Dr. Blakemore is exactly right, though. If you don't have a ton of hours, you're better off waiting until you get all those hours and applying later on. However, if your clinical hours aren't a problem, you are going to be better off applying early. Because if you think about that, I think we open on April 30th or something like that. So we open on April 30th. Well, May 30th or June or June 30th, you're going to have less candidates, in your pool than you are going to have on July 30th or August 30th. And so just by sheer numbers, as far as deciding, who to pull in for an interview, because we start interviewing, I don't think we've picked the dates yet, but at some point we pick out dates for interviews, you're going to have less people in the pool earlier on. And, depending on how strong of a candidate you are, you're going to have a higher likelihood of coming to the top of the pool. So there is some advantage to coming in early. But if it's going to make your application stronger to wait, we're going to tell you it's going to be more beneficial for you to wait. So it's really an individual, it's going to be different for every person. So, but it is a rolling admission. So anytime there's rolling admissions, there's going to be some advantage to applying early.
Leslie, I'm not laughing at you. I was laughing at the
That's not really a good answer, but
no, we've had a dog. There's a dog catastrophe.
Okay.
In the chat room. So
well, you know what I'm doing right now, so
yes, I do. Let's see. So Mariah, you asked, if you have a master's, do you submit both undergraduate and graduate GPA? Absolutely. If you have a master's degree, by all means, please tell us.
Yeah. Oh, I actually had one more question to go with that. So because I'm in my master's right now, I won't be able to apply this cycle. But for the next cycle, would you guys still consider like the pass fail classes because of the whole coronavirus things and our teachers switching up our grades, if that makes sense?
So yes. So if we allow for the, good question. So what you're saying is for the next cycle, such as next year when it opens on April 5th, sure. For the spring and summer semester of 2020, depending on how things go, we will accept the, right. We're not going to make you go back and retake that class.
Thanks.
I took OChem, both of them. Yeah, trust me. What else can I answer? Allegra, did we answer all your questions? Because I know you had several.
I was trying to figure out how to unmute my mic with the space bar. I saw something about that, but I was wondering about like the personal statement. What do you guys like? What stands out usually when people write their personal statement?
Well, I've got to be honest with you. That's why you have an admissions committee, and I think we're all a little bit different on that. So I'll answer, and then I'll let Mrs. Norris answer on that too. I like you to tell me why. I want to know why. That's what I'll. What do you say, Leslie?
Well, you're not going to like this answer. I feel like everybody tells us why, and so I like to know. I like you to stand out. I want you. It can be your why, but I want you to stand out so that when you come in for your interview, I say, "Oh my gosh, I remember her. I remember her application." It may not even have to do with being a PA. I mean, clearly it has to tie back somehow, but it might be the why. But it might be, I mean, I don't know. It could be anything. If I could tell you what it is, then I would make a lot of people happy because we get after a lot. But you know, it needs to make you stand out. That's all I can say. Whatever it is, if you can make yourself stand out and it's the why, you probably hit the home run, because then you know you're at least going to make two of us happy. But you know, it's just whatever you think is going to highlight yourself. Let us know you the best that we can, so that whenever you get that call for the interview and we see your name in front of us, we're going to say, oh my gosh, I totally remember this person.
Yeah, it should be genuine.
Yeah.
More than anything. And I think from both answers, you're going to see that there's no cookie cutter answer to that. There's no perfect PA applicant. And yeah, there's no cookie cutter answer to that. So the best thing to do is be you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I guess I can ask another question too. I've always been interested more about, are PAs recognized like outside of the US more, or are they starting to be utilized more? I tried to do a little bit of research about that like a couple years ago, but I didn't really see like a clear cut like opportunity, like if I wanted to be a PA like abroad one day.
You can go, and once you can go be a PA abroad. If you graduate here, you can go work. There are countries that'll take you. I think a couple of years back there was a program in Scotland that you could go to. And what I think they've really had happen is they've had PAs from America come over and start programs over there. Now the UK, I think, is pretty well established. They have what's called physician associates there. And I do believe that Canada has a similar system. You know, they're so geographically spread out there in some places that they even have a hybrid EMT type of healthcare professional. So it just varies by country, but they're out there. And they actually have a PA day in the United Kingdom, because I tweeted it not too long ago, because I didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great. So they're out there.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, you can go overseas. And for you guys that want to know about the military, that's it's a great way to go. You can go work in an American hospital overseas.
Yeah.
As a civilian or active.
Because that's what I was more like tying into earlier when I asked about military bases. Just seeing if I could go abroad that way as well.
Sure.
So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, you can go. Is there any preference for Missouri residents or other groups? No, there's not a preference for Missouri residents. And I do believe, though, that we do take into account if you come from a rural area on that. I think it's the HRSA, I believe, is still on their salary, I think. So we do take into account if you're from a rural area.
I don't think that's just rural. I think it's just you need to.
It's a designated.
It's health-related shortage area, so I think it can be in any underserved. I believe HRSA, I believe, can be like, you know, inner city, urban, any place that they're in need. I believe. Don't quote me.
Yeah, I'd have to look that one up.
Sure.
Go ahead.
But the only true like preference is we still have the Stephens graduate, correct?
That's what I was gonna ask.
And it's not and what it is though is it's not a true preference. Like what it is if you graduate from Stephens College, you're granted an automatic interview. Whereas, so let me explain that. And say all of us on this Zoom apply, and we all meet the requirements. We do have a system where we look at the number of candidates and invite so many for an interview based upon prerequisites and some other items. So not all of us would get an interview is what would happen. But if you had graduated from Stephens, you do get an interview. You do get an automatic interview, but that's as far as it goes.
If they meet the requirements.
Right. You have to graduate from there and you have to meet the requirements. But you are guaranteed an interview if you satisfy those two things.
but then once you get in your interview, you're fully in the pot with everyone else.
You're on your own.
I had another question, but it just slipped my mind. Oh no. Oh, with the urban area thing that we were talking about right before the interview, I was wondering, so when you say where you're from, is that like where you grew up or is that like where you live? Sorry, I was confused about that. Because I'm now a military wife, so I've lived like in 2 different states already. But I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas, Wyandotte County.
I don't know that we have a real preference on that. That's a good question. I would probably put where I'm from. But
yeah,
somebody else might put where they live right now.
Yeah.
That's a good thought though.
I was just wondering because I'm from an inner city area, but I currently live on Panama City Beach. So it's like, I don't know.
I'm not feeling real sorry for you right now.
Yeah.
No, I would probably put, to be real, if it were me applying, I would put where I'm from. Like where I came from. Like
yeah.
where I
Okay.
lived the majority of my young life. Younger than you are.
Okay, thank you.
What else can I answer for you?
Just making sure I'm not muted. Okay. So, in terms of like individually speaking to like an advisor to get advice on our transcripts and things like that, who would you recommend that we speak to directly about our transcripts and course history?
Yeah, Sally, you want to put that email in there that she can send that to? And then we'll take a look at that, Allegra. Okay? Yeah, be specific when you send that email. And I know you had questions about that, so we'll get all of those answered for you.
Okay.
And that way, and send your transcripts in with it so we can read the course descriptions.
Okay, thanks.
Okay? What else can we answer for you?
Do you have to pay for the PCAT? Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Is it like the MCAT where it's $500 and whatnot?
I saw it was $228 when I looked.
Thank God. 500 steep. That's a steep price to pay for 6 months of studying in your life. Just wondering. Oh, I actually had a question about that too, because it's so new. Is there like, with the MCAT, you can buy like books and take courses. Can you do that with the PCAT? Do you know if there's any resources for that?
You probably need to check their website.
Oh, that's fair.
My guess is that there would be, because I'm pretty sure that's put on by Exam Master. Isn't that correct, Megan?
You know what, now that you say that, I believe you're right.
I'm pretty sure Exam Master is the one that puts out, and I would guess they probably do have at least some online course you can do, but you'd have to check that. I would Google it. I'm sure it's
There's a practice test. Yeah. It is Exam Master. And sure enough, yeah, they've got, it comes right up when you Google it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a clarification, this is the pharmacy college admissions test?
No.
PCAT? No.
No, it's PA-CAT. PA-CAT.
Yeah.
Got it. That makes way more sense.
So it's pa-cat.com. And then if you put practice test behind it, it'll come right up.
Found it. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, is this for fall 2021, is this the first time that the PA-CAT is being utilized, or was the last rounds, did they use the PA-CAT or?
No, it just went live in January.
Okay.
It just went live. They've been developing it for a few years. Our students actually were part of a database that when our current class of 2021, I think I got that right, our didactic students this year, when they first came on, before they had any classes or anything, we were part of their data collection, and we had them take it. And so we've kind of been in contact with them and stuff, and it's just a good, I don't know, from what we know about it, again, it's new, but from what we know about it, it looks like it's going to be a good resource. But we didn't want to jump in with both feet and make it a requirement out of the gate. We want to see a little bit more data before we make it a requirement. So several programs, some of them are requiring it. A lot of them are making it a recommendation. And so that's what we're doing. So.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
What else can I answer? And I put that website on the chat. What else can I answer for you?
Go back to your website and
Oh, I actually have one more question. It's about housing. So like, whenever does like Stephens offer housing, kind of like boarding, or I guess what am I thinking, like room and board?
No, I don't think so right now. But
I can answer that, Megan, if you want.
Do I?
I can answer if you want.
Yeah, go ahead, Sal.
We don't currently offer graduate housing, unfortunately. So you would have to find housing for yourself, either in the city of Columbia or in the surrounding area. I would say, and Megan and Leslie, you guys can correct me, but probably most of the PA students would say try to find a place that obviously you can afford, but that's also close to campus, because you spend a lot of time on campus, and so you'll want to be able to get there, you know, early mornings, late nights, that sort of thing. So I think a lot of students, when I moved to Columbia, I just Google searched and went on Craigslist and looked, and things like that. So you do have to find housing for yourself. But Columbia, as we spoke about earlier, tons of college students are here. You'll find apartments, townhomes, condos, and houses all for rent in the area. So there's a lot of availability for that.
We put together a Facebook once the cohort is decided too. So oftentimes students will get in touch, like different cohorts will get in touch with each other, and then you guys get in touch with each other, and you end up being roommates and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of networking that goes on through that Facebook page that's just for you guys.
Thank you.
If I can just add something to the housing piece, for cost of attendance purposes, for students who are borrowing money to help cover living expenses, we do shoot high because we know sometimes rent can be a little bit higher in Columbia. But if you are needing a little bit more in your cost of attendance because you find a place that is outside the amount that we budget for, financially definitely can work with you on those things. And speaking to Sally's comment, yes, this is a college town, but a lot of apartments now tell you if undergrad or it's just a graduate place. So I know that I'm in an apartment right now and it's just for 23 or older. I'm not stuck with freshmen living next door to me. And so I know our PA students are sometimes worried about that because they want to find a quiet place. So that's nice that we have a lot of living space in town like that as well.
Yeah, from what I remember, at least everyone I knew when I was there was under 23. So it was a lot different of a vibe. Yeah, so I was just wondering about that. The last thing I wanted to ask was, for example, I don't actually know, I'll probably just ask this, Megan, when I email you about talking to the Air Force person. My question was going to be, does that scholarship cover rent? Question mark. You know what I mean?
Well, how much? I don't know how much your stipend is, but you can find out if you call them. I'll tell you. More than happily tell you, right? And want you to visit them.
Yeah,
So,
and mail a bunch of stuff to your house.
that's right. That's right. But actually, it's a different kind of recruiter. They're actually special healthcare recruiters for the Army, for the Air Force, for the Navy, and not so much for the Marines, but because the Navy provides most of that. But yeah, they're actually healthcare recruiters. So it's a little bit different. And depending upon where did you say you are?
I'm at Tyndall Air Force Base in Panama City Beach, Florida.
Oh yeah, you've probably got a recruiter pretty close to you.
Hopefully. Well, I can't go on base. Well, I would go and ask, but I can't go on base right now for obvious reasons. So maybe in a little while.
Yeah, that won't be a problem though. You can look them up. AMED is there. So it's AMEDD. AMED is the health for all armed forces. Navy, Air Force, Army.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. What else can we answer?
I guess to follow up on her question, is that Air Force contact that you have, should I also go through them to ask about like the civilian side of it?
No. So if you want to do civilian side, you probably need to do USA Jobs.
USA.
If you're going to do that, it's USA Jobs. Is it .com? It's still .com, I think. So yeah, if you want to do that, or if you want to, there's also a VA scholarship. So there's a VA stipend too. And Allegra, if you're really interested in that, we've actually got 2 students on scholarship right now. So if you have some questions about that, I could put you in contact with one of those students. And they get a stipend. And I don't know how much they get, but you owe them time too afterwards. It's kind of just like the military. So
yeah.
But that's not a bad deal either, because once you work for the VA for 5 years, you're pretty much vetted at that point, and then you can work a civilian, a different job, and then come back once you're vetted, finish out your 20 years, and and then retire and still then go do a different job, just like the military.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
They have a education debt reduction program, which is called EDRP, that you can get to. And we just had a student that graduated. She took a job where I used to work in. So the VA will pay back her physician assistant student loans for her.
I guess it just depends like which hospital or which company that you work with for them to do like loan repayments and things like that. There isn't like a set thing right now, I guess, about loan repayments. It's just depending on.
Say it again.
It's just depending on the company that you work with, the hospital.
Right. So it depends on where you go to work. So, if you join the military, they're usually pretty short. So they might give you a stipend, and they might give you a bonus to come in and then to stay longer. The VA is they'll pay back your loan for you, and then you've got an automatic job somewhere in the United States, and then you do like an internship and go on. Yeah, it just depends on where you work. And I'm sure there's some private companies that have different types of incentives, things like that. You can definitely go to, the rural health site, is it HRQ? I can't remember. They too, though, give loan repayment. The rural services, I can't remember exactly what that is, but they too have scholarships. HQ. I can send you that though once I remember exactly what it is.
Thanks.
If you send me an email, I can, and it's on the because I just put a post on my Facebook page not too long ago.
Okay, thanks.
What else?
Last question. It's like the me and Allegra going back and forth. I had one question about the letters of recommendation. You, on the website, when I read it, it just said 3 letters of recommendation. It didn't say who from. And so I was wondering, is it a preference to have it from instructors? Is it a preference to have it from a PA? Because I know, like, with specific schools, like, for example, like DOs, like, you have to have a medical, like, recommendation from a DO. But, like, for other places, it's like, it needs to be a teacher. So, I don't know. I was just wondering.
I'll give you my take on that, and I'll let Mrs. Norris weigh in on that one too. So, because we're all a little bit different, it's great if you can get a letter from a PA, I think, right? But you have to be careful with your letters of recommendation. So, you need to ask for a letter of recommendation from someone that knows you and knows you well. And it needs to be someone not related to you or a family friend. It needs to be a professional type of relationship, either colleague or boss, something like that. We do get some letters from instructors, from academic professors. No one may like this, but really they're kind of hard sometimes because the meat of the letter says that you're great, and then they'll give you a 3. So be careful who you get it from. So what do you think, Leslie?
Well, the other problem is that probably 85% of those, you know, the dean of the whatever school that you graduated from, and I'm not saying, because I don't know if you guys graduated from Stevens. I think one of you may have, the other one may not. And I'm just saying in general, from what we see, you get these letters from, you know, the dean of the school or the head of the program or the whatever, and it's a form letter that they just fill in the name and they fill in what your GPA was, and it doesn't say anything about you. That does you no good, because we can tell that they don't know you. I mean, it doesn't take long to know that they just typed in your information in a letter that was on their computer. So I actually very much agree with Dr. Blakemore on this one. We're on the same page this time. As long as they know you, but then you also have to be careful, as we get a lot of the people that are maybe a physician that's been a family friend for a long time, so you think you're really hitting the jackpot because they're, you know, professional, they're great, and they know you well, and then the first line out of their mouth is, or on the page is, I've known Mariah since she was 5 years old. I've entrusted her with my, you know, taking care of my kids. So basically they're giving you a reference for being a babysitter, not for being, so you have to be able to talk about what it is that you need. I'm not saying they might not be able to give you a good reference, but make sure that they know what they're giving you a reference for. So, but I agree. It's nice to hear it from a PA that knows you from a not from a babysitting standpoint or whatever standpoint, that knows you from, you know, whether you worked in their clinic with them or that you've done something else with them, you know, that they could talk to you about your abilities. We'd like to know that you're capable of handling PA school, because the PA knows what it takes to get through PA school. And if they know you at all, then they're going to know if you have what it takes to get through PA school. And that's why I think it's important to have one from them.
Okay, thank you. One of the reasons I guess I was asking mainly is because I've been a student for the past like 20 years. And so I haven't, like, I'm currently applying for UT jobs, but I haven't quite yet had like a boss or like somebody other than teachers talk to me. So,
yeah, you need a boss.
Yeah.
You need the boss. Yeah,
Thanks,
it helps.
guys.
It changes things a lot. You're on the right track.
Thank you.
Yeah. What else can we answer?
I think I'm good with all the rest of my questions. I was just gonna make sure to email my transcript and get more advice on that. And I learned a lot about the working on military bases and possibly going abroad. So those were a lot of the bulk of my questions. So thank you all for answering those.
Yeah.
Allegra, do you go to Stephens?
No, I graduated from Mizzou.
Oh, nice. Just wondering. Yeah, I'm also done with my questions. Sorry.
Kennedy, was there anything else we can answer for you?
I did have one last question. I know, like you guys said, the GRE is going to be waived for this next application cycle. I had planned on taking it over the summer, and if I do take it, I'm nervous about my scores. Like, I'm not a very good test taker when it's something big like that. And so if I take it for the first time and I don't do well, but that score gets submitted to you guys, is that going to hurt my chances? Is it better just not to take it, or what would you recommend?
Well, one, when you take it, you have to put in a code to send it to us.
Okay.
I think, now I could be wrong about this, but can't you just take the test and then retroactively send it to us?
I did that.
So you could technically get the score and then decide if you were going to send it in. And since you have a reprieve this year, if it doesn't go so well, don't send it.
Yeah, and what would you guys recommend as like a competitive score for that?
So I just wrote the averages the other day, and I think, and if I can remember correctly, the quantitative average was 150.1.
Okay.
The verbal was about 150 also. And then the written, we had an average of 3.7 and 4.0 for the last 2 years.
Okay, thank you.
Kennedy, with your GRE, I also have that problem with the whole, like, with huge tests that are like 4 hours long. It's like towards the end there, you're like, oh my gosh. I found that I took a practice test for the GRE like every week or 2 weeks, and that helped me a lot just build stamina just to get through like the whole 2 hours to 3 hour long test. So maybe that might be something that can help you too.
Yeah, thanks. How long did you spend studying and preparing for it?
So I took it my senior year, and I had 2 capstones because I was a dual degree. So I did not spend as long as I should have studying for it, but I probably spent a total cumulative hours, probably about 1 month at like 20 hours a week.
Okay.
I'd recommend more than that. And I would also recommend not doing it during capstones.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then Kennedy, it depends on what you do too. I mean, I don't know your background.
Well, right now I'm a biology major, and I'm also a licensed massage therapist. Obviously, I'm not working right now, but so I have been given a lot more time to study that, especially over the summer.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you just happen to pick a lucky year, so you might weigh the cost of it too. I mean, I don't know what the GRE costs now. So it just depends on what you want to do.
Yeah.
And what programs you're applying to.
Yeah.
Some of them aren't waiving it. I know that.
Okay.
Yeah. So up to you. What else? Good to go? All right. Well, you can always send us an email too. If you think of the questions, we'll be happy to answer them, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Everyone, can you use your reaction buttons and please thank Dr. Blakemore, or you can just make some noise and unmute yourself. You've been great attendees. So Dr. Blakemore, we thank you for your wisdom, your service, your leadership. Thank you for all of the staff and faculty of the MPAS program for making time this evening to come on and answer questions and share information. Thank you as well from our colleagues from financial aid and admissions. So thank you, Sally and Alex. There was a couple members, I put it in the chat, from our Office of Institutional Advancement. So our philanthropist raising folks. Actually, I think at one point there was 3 members from that office. So we thank Chris, Lori, and Jenny for joining us as well to learn more information. And of course, we thank all of you. So kudos again to the Stephens alumna who were here We appreciate you, herstory makers. Keep making herstory. And for those of you who will be future Stephens alums, hopefully, through the MPAS program, we thank you again for taking time to come and learn more information. So we send you all light and positive energy and your favorite hue. And please be safe in this pandemic and stay in touch. And thank you to Shannon for working so hard behind the scenes, making sure that this evening was possible and clicking and sharing screens. So we appreciate you.